Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the show. Today we are talking to a good friend of mine named Allison Danis, who you'll hear me refer to as Frankie also. Allison is an amazing human being, but she holds a job that not a lot of us even realize is a job, and she's a death doula. And so a lot of us, we associate the word doula with birthing and midwives, things like that. Very, very similar, just on the back end of life. So, whereas a doula, a birthing doula, will help bring somebody into the world, a death doula is that person that sits with you and helps you organize your affairs as you leave this world. So, we're going to talk a lot about how she got into this field and what she chooses to do with it, and the trainings and the life preparation that she really had to do to get ready to be a person to hold space in a place like this. So, really, really excited to hear what Frankie has to say, to hear about her path, and to hear how we can benefit from the path that she's walking. So, hope you get something from the conversation, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, welcome back to our show. Today, sitting across from me, you're going to actually hear me call this woman many different names. She is known to the public as Miss Allison Danis. She is known to me and a few select others as Frankie. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the reason I have this beautiful young lady across from me today is she is embarking on one of the most interesting professions that I've ever heard of. I think that what really intrigued me about this profession is the openness and the heart that you really have to be able to walk into a profession like this. You really don't know what you're stepping into at any point in time, because grief just takes hold of us all in very different ways. There's a quote that I read a while back that said there are as many ways to grieve in this world as there are people. And I thought that was very profound. And I think that can be said for a lot of different emotions that we go through, but I love that association with grief. So sitting across from me, besides a litany of just love and respect I have for this beautiful woman, Allison Danis, Miss Frankie, is a budding death doula, which is probably going to be a very new term for a lot of people out there. And again, that's one of the main reasons why I want to have you on the show today. So sitting across from me, Miss Frankie, Allison Danis.
Hi.
Boom. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So just a quick, background on you and I. So we've known each other for a while, a number of years, through yoga, more or less, and, a lot of the relationships that I have now have started with yoga. That was one of the most healthiest, kind of newer ways for me to discover people in my life outside of, working my butt off or going to bars and things like that. And so a lot of these relationships that I've had, that I have now, have started from this beautiful place of yoga or this healing journey that I've been on. And you are one of those people that I remember meeting very, very early on in my journey, and just immediately was like, you're just an awesome person. We started hanging out. You've been to many of Monica's women's circles. You've been to a lot of our workshops. You're just basically a staple at the house now. I love watching your journey as I watch my own journey, right? And just seeing how complementary, as you see one person gain knowledge, you're automatically almost innately gaining that knowledge as well, because of the closeness that you have and the proximity of that person.
Right.
And so when you started in this death doula journey, which we'll get into here in a moment, it scared the shit out of me, because I'm
still scared.
I don't think I'm afraid of death, but at the same time, I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And just just thinking about the amount of space that you need to hold for somebody or a family or a group of people that is going through a grieving process, that's a lot. So, initially I was just like, wow, your heart is gigantic. That's just amazing. So before we really dive into the death doula stuff, what brought you into yoga in general?
Real quick, I want to tell you, you'll probably end up doulaing at some point in your life.
It sounds...
It's not just me.
It almost does. And the more that I've learned from you about this, it more sounds like almost like, like in the Eastern cultures where they, it's almost built into their culture to hold space for their family members as they pass. It's almost like we had to make a job out of it in the West to justify the holding space of, for our people passing.
Totally.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That's why it feels uncomfortable to call it a profession, to hear you say this new profession,
right?
Because it is something I want to just bring into our culture.
Just be normal.
Yeah. I think all of us should go do this training and learn how to be with dying.
And that's such a beautiful statement. We're afraid of what we don't recognize and what we don't understand. And a lot of us are really trying to prolong life as much as we can. Maybe because we're afraid of dying, maybe because we don't know what that next step is. Maybe it's like we think we're just going to go into a box in the ground and die and decay and worms and become part of the earth again, and that's it. Maybe some people think there's this beautiful thing that's going to happen after, or maybe a treacherous thing. Maybe we have guilt in our conscience and we think we're going to go burn in hell and ramparts and all this bullshit in the rest of our lives. So there's a lot of uncertainty around this thing that we're all going to experience eventually, which is death.
I love that about it, that we don't know.
Yeah.
And not one person can really say they know. I find that comforting.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a know-it-all, Yeah. Just, we don't know. That's comforting to me.
That's true. That is true. There's some of those unanswered questions in the world. And, it's funny because you bring that up, is that we don't know. I recently had a friend that, they just had their kid, and they did not let anybody know the sex or the name of, and they didn't find out themselves either. And that drove me insane. And it's not even my kid, and I'm not even that close to this person. It's my kid's step aunt. So it's not even a close familial member of mine. And so it's those mysteries of the world. Like, why don't you want to know? I want to know what's going on.
That's crazy.
What is it, a boy or girl?
Humans don't like
Is it a they or a them?
Yeah.
Well, what color should I start doing? Like, what's going on? I just want to know. It doesn't fucking matter. It's just that curiosity of humanity. So I get it. Like, we want to know what's going to happen next. There's a bunch of books out there that philosophize about what's going to happen next. A lot of books out there that say they know what's going to happen next.
Oh, lots of people very confident they know what happens.
Yeah. But, it's one of those great mysteries. Like, we don't really know. We can have an intrinsic knowing, which is a word that has been introduced to me through this podcast, and it's knowing with a G, right? G-N-O-W-I-N-G.
Oh, I love that.
And that's knowing without understanding why. You just know, right? And that intrinsic knowing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's
very
beautiful.
Cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The mystery of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't know, and that unknowing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what brought you into the yoga world? Like, where did that path take you?
I have to say that it wasn't a very linear path.
Okay.
I very recently just had a moment of I think this is how I'm going to serve in the world. It just kind of dawned on me.
It was like a polling almost.
Yeah. And I think it started with yoga. I think that yoga was probably the beginning because you start to dive inward. That's what yoga did for me.
Yeah.
And it just opened up this huge door of mindfulness and the moment and looking at fears, and I think that it started with yoga.
Yeah.
And I had all these little things that I did in my life, but not for 1 second thought that it was to be a death doula someday.
Okay.
Never thought this was in my plans.
Yeah.
Death is still terrifying. It's horrifying to me. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
That I'm going to someday just disappear.
Not be here anymore.
Not be here anymore. I don't know what comes next. I think it's terrifying, but I think that I've done all these things to prepare myself, like yoga, and got into Tang's meditation. That was a huge thing for me. He even led us through a death meditation that still today sticks with me. I think about it all the time.
There's, meditation's been that thing for me that once I started meditating, again, I'm not given any answers. I don't know any more, I don't think now, than I did when I started meditating. Or I should say the gift of meditation has not gifted me knowledge. It's given me the space to understand why I want knowledge, but it hasn't been I'm sitting there and all of a sudden this beam of light popped into my head and it's oh, I've just got osmosis information now. But at the same time, it almost prepares yourself in almost a pragmatic way. You create this peace and this understanding of the acceptance of the non-knowledge. Right? We accept that we don't know everything. We accept we're never going to know anything. And we become just kind of okay with that. And through that acceptance, you're really ready for anything. And that doesn't mean that you're going to throw a party when your loved one passes away and just completely be fine with it and be able to go back to work the next day. But that means that you're just a little better set up and ready for the embracement of the emotions that come in. And again, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful. All the emotions still hurt, and they still all feel the way they're supposed to feel. But again, this is just my practice with meditation has prepared me for the understanding that this is going to be a thing that's going to be presented into your life at some point in time. So here's some opportunities for you to get your head wrapped around that stuff.
Absolutely. Meditation, I think, is the secret.
Yes.
It's how you do it. It's how you die.
Yeah.
If you can stay present, and just meditating teaches you to just let go of control. Yeah. Because your mind wants to control. And it's just, that's the lesson right there. Is just let that go. Try to observe.
Yeah. I had a moment a couple weeks back where, and I'm not trying to dramatize this, and I'm not trying to make this like, and it's just like, oh my God, what's wrong with Adam kind of thing. But like, I had a moment the other day, a couple weeks ago, where
you're talking about my life. This is me all the time. Deep thoughts all the time. Everything is dramatic.
Good. Yes. Okay. We're right in the right place.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was sitting, I was by myself, and I had like a heart palpitation. And it was pretty dramatic, and I could feel it in my chest, like a fluttering. And sometimes it's, I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that, but it can kind of catch you off guard, but it can kind of be exhilarating at times. Like, ooh, that was kind of fun. Well, this one was like, it was going on for a little bit, and it was like this. I could feel it pushing through my chest, and it was like it was more of an arrhythmia than a palpitation kind of thing, and it scared the shit out of me, but. Initially, and I'm not, so I'm a practicing spiritual person, but I have a very, very hard time identifying with a God, with a creator, with a source. Like, it's something that's been new to me, and I've been trying to like wrap my head around what I think about this person and this thing and what this, this entity, this androgynous being would be, or whatever it is that I'm basically like not worshiping, because I don't think that's the right word, but like, paying homage to, appreciating, I struggle with that a lot. But so when I had this arrhythmia, this thing, my head automatically went to think of Buddha. Think of Buddha. Because I remember one time Tang told us that if you can think of Buddha or Christ or your God or that deity that you worship, if you can think of that thing as you're passing, then you're that much closer to it. Yeah. And so I had that arrhythmia, that thing. And again, I'm completely fine. I didn't have to go get checked out. I was fine. But like immediately, like I had that thing and my mind went to think of Buddha, think of Buddha, think of Buddha. And I like kind of smiled at like how silly that was. But at the same time of like, oh my gosh, like it's working. Like my meditation training's working. Like I'm not training to teach myself to think of Buddha, but like it was that trigger. Like I was afraid for my life. I thought of Tang made me think of Buddha, and then I was happy. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is fine.
What a juicy conversation.
Whew.
I haven't had very many near-death experiences, but so curious to know what's going to be the thing that flashes in my mind when it's there.
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Your heart palpitation makes me nervous too. Did you have a lot of caffeine or?
I'm very aware of like what I put in my body and how I feel, but I mean, oh gosh, no, I'm not even going to go there. I have these visions of myself, and like I don't know if I think the moral of the story is like I'm not afraid. Like I honestly can say that I'm not afraid to die anymore. Like, and it's not from that moment. It's not from that thing that happened. But I think a lot of it is the meditation that I've had, the plant medicine journeys that I've been on, and the acceptance of life that I'm in. I accept the journey that I'm walking, and I'm really ready for anything to happen.
Totally.
And I think some of that might be because like. I don't know, a lot of people in my generation, I'm 41, so a lot of people that are my age, I hear talking a lot about, like, they didn't know if they'd make it past a certain age. And I was very much a proponent of that. I didn't know if I'd make it to my 20s, let alone to my 40s, right? And so by the time I made it to, like, 24 when I had my first kid, I'm like, oh, shit, better settle in because it looks like I'm going to be here for a while. And then by the time I'm in my 30s, I'm like, okay, I got some work to do. Okay, clean up all the shit that you fucked up in the past, and let's start to, like, have morals and values, and let's move forward into some kind of, like, understanding as a human.
As messed up as it sounds, I don't think that that's a bad mindset to have. I don't think we're all, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Right. So that mindset of, we'll see if I make it to 25, I don't think that that's quite crazy.
Yeah.
Even though it sounds a little twisted. Yeah.
It does, but I think it is. It is. You're living for this moment, and again, like if you look at like the Buddhist principles or like a lot of Eastern philosophy, it's like you live for this moment. You're here in this moment. Yep. And this moment can be pretty freaking fun and crazy. And then, because if you don't know that tomorrow's going to be there, then might as well make today fucking crazy.
See, coming back to the moment, yoga, meditation. I swear it's what led me here to this moment now.
Be here in this moment.
Yeah. I think that what meditation taught me is that fear is exhausting. That's why I'm not scared to die.
Good for you.
Because it's so exhausting to sit here and be afraid of it that I have to just let it go.
Yeah.
That's too much.
That's beautiful.
It's less work to just accept.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel it in your body when you just have acceptance.
Yeah. And I think with humans, we try to put definitions to things a lot. We try to define the terms. We try to define the vocabulary. I've said this on this podcast before. One of my favorite quotes is the poet's biggest obstacle are words. You can look at a thing and know exactly how it makes you feel, know exactly how it, warm and fuzzy, all these emotions. But if you try to put words to that, this snapshot that you could look at and appreciate in a tenth of a second might take you 100 pages to describe to somebody.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's why this podcast is kind of terrifying to me. It's because I'm a feeler. I feel things, but putting it into words is so tough, especially what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Life and death. Gosh, words.
Yeah, right. They're obstacles. They're weird. They're obtrusive, especially if you get words and then you put emotions behind those words. And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't even say what I wanted to say. And I was practiced at what I wanted to say. But then this emotion came in and then I just stumbled over the words. And all of a sudden, I just cursed when I was trying to say something beautiful. Say that all the time. That's why I just accept cursing now. Fuck shit damn. They're going to come out sooner or later. You can fluff up all the curse words you want, but they're going to come out for me.
Sometimes they're necessary. I think so.
Oh man. Okay, so you yogaed for a while, and were you yoga in Michigan, or was that once you got here?
I yogaed in Michigan.
Okay.
At the Funky Buddha Hot Yoga House.
Great name.
By Planet Fitness. I worked at Planet Fitness.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
And this guy named Matt, shout out to you, Matt, came into Planet Fitness in such a good mood every day.
Okay.
I was so suspicious of this guy. What is he doing? How is he so happy all the time? And one day he brought me a free class pass to go try the Funky Buddha Hot Yoga House right next door.
Okay.
And I did it, and it was horrible. It was so hot. I couldn't do it, but I came back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I don't know.
Something always brings us back.
We just, we're after that near-death experience. We just go in there and almost die, and you come back. There's something about it.
I had a talk with a woman yesterday, 2 days ago, and she came in. It was her very first hot yoga class, and it was a vinyasa class. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be hot, it's going to be messy, it's going to be movement-based, blah, 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 but... So my best advice for somebody trying hot yoga or something new, anything new, is try it 5 to 7 times, right? 5 to 7 times. Your first 2 to 3 times, you're going to be completely frustrated. You're going to be upset with yourself. You're going to be upset with me or the teacher because they're telling you to do things that you don't want to do, that you don't understand, that make you look idiotic in your own right because you're just not understanding first, right? And that's a self-judged kind of thing. Again, speaking from self, those were my emotions when I took my first class. But, and so after this person came out, how did it go? She's like, I hated it. I'm like, cool, understood.
Sounds about right.
I know you probably don't remember the first time you walked, but when you first stood up in that diaper-filled butt, you fell back on your butt or on your face. And then you stood up again and you fell back on your face. And you kind of smiled, right? Channel that. Smile. Fall on your face, get up and smile. Take it 3 more times. Fall on your face, get up and smile, right? Because it's going to be awkward. It's going to be weird. But anything that's frustrating is usually worth it. It's for your health, it's for your safety, it's for your well-being. Get in there, find your way of doing it, which again is a practice in itself because you don't have to do what the person next to you is doing. Find the practice that makes sense to you. So yeah, it's going to be awkward.
There's something about it just gets you hooked, right? I think maybe it's the pain in it.
Yeah.
Because you grow from pain, so you go in there and you just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, you keep showing up to yoga and you learn so many lessons along the way. One of my favorites is when, I can't remember who the teacher was, but they pointed out that how you respond on your mat is how you respond and how you live in life. So those moments where you're just pissed off at the teacher that they just called out another chair pose, that is how you're also probably dealing in, with life.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point.
Chair pose.
Every time.
You had at least 3 this morning.
I did. Yep, I do. I did. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Not sorry.
And it's funny because I'm very cognizant of when I take classes now And when teachers do something that makes me trigger my head, I'm like, oh. And then I think about a class I just taught recently. I'm like, oh, yeah, some people hate me.
So much wisdom gained in yoga.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hell yeah.
It all starts with yoga.
It does.
I love it.
I you know, that's my catalyst. You know, somebody asks me what to do, I'm gonna tell them to do yoga stuff. I'm a yogi. I like yogi type stuff. You're gonna ask a monk what to do, they're gonna tell you to do monk type shit. You know, monks be monking for years, yogi been yogging for years. You know, but find the thing that makes sense to you. I think that's what it boils down to. But
I'll never stop pushing it. I push yoga on people. Totally. You think something else is better? No, yoga. Just go to yoga.
Get inside your body.
Totally.
Sweat until you can't think anymore. Then you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I yogaed for the first time in Michigan. I yogaed in Florida at Power Yoga Ocala.
Okay.
And I didn't really yoga too much in Vegas. I actually had one yoga experience.
You did a stint in Vegas.
I did. I lived in Vegas. I tried a Bikram class in Vegas.
Oh, interesting.
I can't believe I'm going to admit this,
yeah.
but I walked out.
Oh, you did?
That's the only yoga class I think I've ever just walked out of the room.
What was the catalyst for the walkout?
Oh, it was everything I didn't like.
Okay.
I like music in my flow. I think Tang is the only one that can get away with not having music, and I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like that there wasn't music. The teacher and the way that they instruct in classic Bikram and also it could have just been the day, you know?
Totally, yeah.
I was just resistant the entire time. So, and I hit a point where I walked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgive myself.
Please, but yes, yes. Come down, take a break, walk out of the class if you need to, you know, it's your practice.
Apologies to that instructor. I didn't want to be rude, you know?
Right.
But yeah.
There you go.
But that was the only yoga I did in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then I came here, and I don't think I can ever move away because I'm so just in love with B1 yoga.
Yeah.
I love it there.
It's a great
studio.
studio.
Love you and Monica, and it's the best class.
Well, and that's, I mean, we love the community, and we love being part of the community. It's not just like we're teachers and there's community. It's like, no, we sweat and take classes next to you guys. You know, we're as much a part of that community as you know, a person in the community, you know. Yeah, I love that studio.
I'm just
so
kind
much.
of realizing how big of a part you and Monica both have in me doing this Death Doula training. I really do. Yoga, of course, is the main thing I think that brought me to death work, but Monica's women's circles.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Those were huge for me.
Yeah.
That's where that moment happened. She had the Samhain celebration.
Yeah.
She had this big table with candles lit, and all of us brought pictures of, you know, loved ones that had passed on, and it was just beautiful. And it was that night I just sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is how I need to serve. You know, people need this. And, and, you know, I was like, I think I might want to be a death doula. And, you know, everybody was like, you should do it. You should just go do it. So.
Gosh, that's
amazing. You got 6
amazing.
ladies standing there saying, go do it. I mean, you have to go do it.
Yeah, yeah. You found your sign.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's cool. You can trace it back to that catalyst, that point of origin too.
Yeah. So thanks, Monica.
Yeah.
And thank
Monica.
you.
Yeah.
The space outside. It was here.
It's a magical space out there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Wow. Okay, so so let's talk about Death Doula then. We keep tap dancing around it. So like so you found the catalyst of this is when you decided that you were going to do it. But when did the idea pop into your head as like this is an actual even a position that you could hold, a training you could do, you know, a service that you could offer?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Here at this women's circle.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things before that women's circle that led to this, but I feel like they were all preparing me for death work, this death doula work.
Do you remember
mentioned plant medicine. I have to throw this in.
Yeah.
I did mushrooms when I was probably 18 years old.
Okay.
And I know, like, I think that has plays a big part too.
I agree, most definitely.
That's your first experience of kind of letting or losing the ego. I've got to be careful with my language, but basically what happens.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's the first. Yes.
And I didn't take a small dose either on my first time. It just, boom.
Dove off the edge.
Mine just totally opened up.
Right on.
So I think that plays a part.
Yeah, I agree. I never, so plant medicines didn't become really regular in my practice until recently. And even when I was younger, where I grew up, LSD was more readily available than psilocybin. And so even I did, take psilocybin a couple times as a young kid, peyote a couple times, but the regular mind altering chemical that was available for me was LSD. And so, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I connected a lot of neural pathways that were not normally used to being connected when I was a very young kid, and I didn't know what to do with those.
Yeah.
But I think, and I've talked about this before too. There's, I think there's a modicum of space that's held for the traveler, whether they enter into the journey with the best of intentions. Because again, when we're younger or inexperienced with some of these medicines, we can just say, hey, I just want to see what it's like to see paint melt off the wall, right? Or see the carpet move. Nothing wrong with that. We all get there for a reason, for that initial reason. But I think once the medicine takes hold and you're like, there's your ego dissolving. There's a understanding of life that you never thought would be a thing. Like you start to see how insignificant money and material objects are, and how beautiful the feelings that people bastardize and demonize are actually beautifully intertwined with the way that you act and other people act. And if you show up vulnerable, other people show up vulnerable. Oh my God. If I'm a human being, other people are human beings. Fucking shit.
Look at you putting all this into words. I'm sitting here like, how am I about to describe this into words? What happens when I tried mushrooms for the first time? It's indescribable.
Yeah.
And I do think it played a big part in this. Is my mind got totally opened up at a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm a big advocate for plant medicines and psychedelic journeys, not just plant medicines, because there's MDMA, there's LSD,
They're trying to bring in psilocybin for end of life treatment. They're doing clinical trials right now.
Yep, totally.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, there's so psilocybin in my studies, they've for end of life, it shows that, let's say somebody has terminal cancer and they are just wrestling with that idea that they're going to pass and they don't want to die, because a lot of people don't. They have these things that they feel like they need to hold on to, whether it's their wealth, their families, all these things that we think that we need to be here for and complete. We have these tasks to finish. A lot of times it's not as strong, but strong is a relative word based off the person that's accepting the medicine. But a strong dose of psilocybin can help you have that moment of God, that moment of clarity where you have the acceptance of like, oh, I see the bigger picture that's beyond me. And I know that after I quote unquote pass away, I'm just going to become part of everything and be around it all. And if you think like, so myself, Adam, my dad passed away 12 years ago. His name is Bill. If I think of Bill real, my dog starts to snore and sounds just like my dad. If I think of Bill real, I feel a gentle hand on my right shoulder. He's always with me. He's always going to be here. Even if I didn't have those moments of like feeling like his hand on my shoulder or hearing my dog, like I feel him with me. He's always with me. And so that feeling, again, that's a knowing with the G. I can't explain that to you, and I can't expect you to believe me. But I'm also not going to like not believe my own self just because I can't explain it to you. Yeah. Right. And so like, those are those moments that we can feel that we can't explain. Why the hell should we? Yeah. It's a placebo effect. The placebo effect works, and embrace it.
I love that you brought up your dad and Bill.
Bill's a great man. He's a good man.
I know I love Bill because I love you, but yeah, I'm comfortable in that space. And I think that remembering our loved ones that have died is necessary. I think that a lot of us try to deny or kind of shut that out. Like sometimes I'll get emotional about my dad still. He died when I was little, but I still, grief hits you in waves when you don't expect it. Yeah. And so I know that if I start to get emotional, or if I'm with a friend and I might even start to cry a little bit, the urge is to say, oh, don't cry. And the urge is to stop that. And right. I think that it's okay. Yes. In fact, that's what keeps my dad alive still, is me thinking about him and feeling him and crying about him and all the people that I've lost. Yeah. All the things that I've lost. Definitely. Keeps him alive. So
it does.
I'm glad you went there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think we keep people alive in our own ways. I personally loved having tattoos of people that passed away on me. I've got 2 tattoos of my dad. Yeah. My dad's signature is tattooed on my arm right here. I have my dad's name tattooed on my stomach. A gentleman that we worked with at iPic Theaters a number of years ago, unfortunately overdosed after a shift. And I have his initials tattooed on another tattoo intertwined into my body, Chaz Copeland. Big shout out to Chaz. Wow. I love to find my ways of paying respects. And those are the ways I like to find and pay respect, show love to them in the ways that I can. These people made big impacts in my life, and like Les, and my good friend Les, I think it was the first dedication tattoo that I've had after he passed. And Les was a bouncer. So I met Les as a bouncer at Jillian's. He was 6'8", 6'9", this behemoth of a man, big gap tooth smile. He probably weighed like 390, just a gigantic human being, but the softest smile. He's just such a kind gentleman. We give dabs, right? So this, I guess in the Northwest, we call them pounds, where you pound a fist and you top fist, bottom fist, and then you pound it out in the front, right? We call them dabs down south. But Les had such big bear paws, you had to have two of your hands to equate one of his hands. So you'd go up to him with two hands and dab him, right? And he passed away, and it was very sudden. It was very sad. One of the things Les used to do when I walked in to work is he would hold up his big bear paw with his index finger extended, and he'd just like show me I'm number one. What's up, big real number one? And so I got that tattooed on my chest. His big bear paw of a hand holding up the first finger, and below it says remain in position. Instead of rest in peace, it's remain in position, because he was always in position. He was my dude, and I love that man to death. And he was not a bouncer to me. He was my brother. He was my father. He was my loved one. He was a family member. And when he cried, I broke my phone. That was the first time like a dramatic death in my life happened. And I remember getting that news and throwing my phone across the backyard and just like crawling to the ground and like, here's my guy. Here's my guy that died, and it was very, very sad and very dramatic. It was the first big person my child had ever met. I remember Les holding Peyton up the very first time when she was like 6 months old, and seeing the look of terror in her eyes for the first time being that high up as a human being. She's like, I'm 7 foot tall. I'm 7 foot tall. I'm a baby and I'm 7 foot tall up in the air. It's like you could see that fear in her eyes, but at the same time, she was held in this beautiful space. So like all those emotions, all those feelings like just hit me, and I wasn't in a place to deal with it in a positive way then. I drank it away, and ignored my family and did all this ignorant shit that that we do when we don't know how to process our emotions. But death has been a thing that's been in my life, and I try to remember it through honoring it through the tattoos that I have. Yeah. In a way.
Sorry, I'm sitting here in silence, just feeling that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Do
you have room for tattoos if I go before you, you better have room for me somewhere.
I do. I got my face, I got my neck, I got a left butt cheek, I got some space.
I love that. Man, that's so cool. The tattoos. Turn it into art.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that.
And that was how my mom actually accepted me having tattoos. Was after my dad passed away, and I got my dad's name tattooed on my stomach, and then that next day I flew home and we had the funeral. That was my mom actually realized that tattoos had meanings, and they're not just graffiti you put on your body. Yeah. And since then, my mom's gotten tattoos and stuff like that.
I think my brother did the same thing with his tattoo.
Yeah. It's
something about my dad, right? That's funny. There you go, kids. There's your
gateway tattoo. Somebody passed away. Go get a tattoo and see where you go from there.
No, but that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, so we keep talking about Death Doula, and Death Midwife is another name for this. But what in your words, like what is a Death Doula? If somebody walked up on the street and be like, Frankie, what the F's a Death Doula?
A Death Doula is someone who helps a person at the end of their life. And I know that sounds really broad, but it really is. It's just this huge umbrella term for a lot of different stuff. Yeah. Because everybody has different needs when it comes to the end of their life.
And so is this a service that, like, say if I was passing away, and let's say I didn't have family members around or something like that, somebody to help hold space for me, emotional support, or to deal with all the the financial bullshit that we do as we pass. So that's something I could hire you as. Or if, let's say, I am a member of a family and I have a family member that's passing away and I just don't have the emotional space, I don't have the pragmaticism to be able to be that person to show up and to hold space. So then I would, again, be able to hire somebody like yourself to handle all those things.
Yeah. Yep. All of those things. I do think that what's great about having a doula is you kind of expect that your family and friends will step in and be the people to help you hold space, do all those things. But it's probably really hard for people that are really close to you to be in that space. I know that from experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could actually go doula for someone really close to me. Like, I don't know, my best friend or my mom. I think about that and I almost don't know if I'd be the best doula because I wouldn't be able to come in with a neutral.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to come in with that neutrality.
You'd want to be able to be in the grieving process with them.
Yeah. So that's what's kind of cool about a doula. It's somebody that's coming in from outside, just someone who's neutral, can sit there and hold space for whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of decision making that comes into play for end of life. And another reason why you might not want to have, say, your mom be your doula, your advocate.
Right.
Because if you're someone who's not really for staying on life support for 2 months, your family members are going to try to keep you alive for forever. Or, there's just so many reasons why you might not want to have your family be the doula for you.
Yeah.
So you might call me up and I can help you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your, what kind of training do you need for something like this? Or not, I guess, need, but what did you actually seek out to get prepared to be in a place where you can hold this kind of space?
So I got my training through Going with Grace,
Okay.
Alua Arthur.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I followed her on Instagram forever before I took her course, and she'll always post like 1 minute long videos, and at the end she's always like, "Thanks for giving me 1 minute of your life to think about the end of it." And it's always just the juiciest minute that
I like that.
Everything is such bullshit on social media and just everywhere in life. And then I stumble upon Alua Arthur's minute video about, let's think about the fact that we're going to die.
Right.
And I just it hit me every single time. And if you follow her on her Instagram, every video is like that. It sticks with you.
Cool.
So what was cool about her training is that these videos weren't a minute long anymore. They were like an hour long of her telling me everything that she knows.
Just digesting
about
all of that stuff. Yeah.
So it was fantastic. I recommend it to everybody, not even if, you might not want to professionally be a doula or do anything with it, but a lot of that training was self-discovery.
Right.
Looking and discovering your own fears that you have about dying.
Wow.
Because you have to look at it within before you can go try to assist others with their dying process.
Right.
So I feel like half of the course was deep diving inward and the other half was practical stuff about dying, which unfortunately there's a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of planning and practical things.
Yeah. A lot of paperwork. And yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that it's getting you prepared first, because I think that's a lot of it. That's a lot of what we don't recognize. And I think, it's referred to a lot as the oxygen mask theory, right? So when the oxygen mask pops down on your plane, you put yours on first before you put somebody else's on. Even if it's your kid, you put yours on first, right? You got to put your mask on first. You got to breathe in order to save other people.
Yes.
Same thing, right? Energy work. You learn Reiki 1 so you can start working on yourself. Teach yourself love. How do you love yourself? Show yourself love, and then go out and show others love. Yoga, we're trying to get our shit right first. Work out all the kinks, work out all the BS, get our sweat out, get the funk out, get ourselves to a point that we want to be able to be, so then we can show up and help other people.
Yeah.
Yep.
The training was 14 weeks long.
Ooh.
Definitely one of those things where it's like the more you know, the less you know.
Okay.
I thought that I'd come out of this like, oh, now I know how to doula.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll ever really know.
Yeah.
None of us will really know. In fact, a lot of the training too was undoing what you think you already know.
Oh, I love that.
Because that can get in the way sometimes.
Right.
Because if you think you know how to help somebody, but you have to just step away from that. Every single person's different.
Yeah.
You have to meet them where they're at. So
it's almost like the variation of belief versus ideas. You have to take all your beliefs away and turn them into ideas, because every human's going to be different. Every grieving process is going to be different. So you can't just approach it the same way.
And someone who's dying doesn't want somebody to come in with all these answers, or at least I don't think.
Yeah.
If I'm dying, please don't come in and try to,
To know it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a know-it-all.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to not know and to be comfortable with just not knowing.
Yeah.
That was a lot of it too, which was great.
Yeah. And was this an online course that you took? Cool.
Yep,
Right
all
on.
online. I think Alua actually is in California.
Oh, so not too far away.
So something that made it a little tough, I have to say, though, is being in Washington. I had to do a lot of research because laws in Washington are going to be a little different than California. So her course was very just like across the board, very broad.
Okay.
Very much felt like it scratched the surface. I spent hours and hours reading and watching videos, but I still feel like I have just scratched the surface just a little bit. There's so much to know and so much to read and to experience yet.
Right, yeah.
I have a lot of life to live, and
I would imagine a lot of this is going to be experiential too.
Yeah.
Like as you start to get clients and deal with families and work with people in these grieving processes, that's where that crux of this comes from. Yeah. I when I first got done with teacher training, with yoga teacher training, and I was very happy with my teacher training. I went through Open Up Yoga, and actually worked with Open Up Yoga for a number of years afterwards. And one of the things that I still hear this from teachers that come out of teacher training for at least a 200-hour training, is that they wish that there was more. And I think that's
fair.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's very fair. But that's where you start to dive into what you want to learn, right? So think about your initial training and whatever that is, right? That initial training is like your bachelor's degree, right? Maybe even your associate's degree, right? That's going to give you the basic knowledge of what you want to learn. But outside of that, that's going to start to spark the information that you want to continue to learn on, right? So a lot of people that come out of teacher training, they're like, oh, I really wish I would have learned more about philosophy. Cool. Well, now, you know what? There's a ton of philosophy courses you can take. They're build-ons to your teacher training. They're offshoots of your teacher training. They don't even have to be associated with your teacher training. You can even just buy a book, right? You now have the basis of knowledge for that starting point to jump off, where you can build your knowledge base from there.
I don't think it's a good thing if you ever get to the end of something and say, well, I know it all. That's the end of my training. There's nothing left to learn. I would be scared.
Especially something like yoga or Death Doula or something that death is always going to change. We're always going to find something more out about death and the process of and where we're going and all that stuff. So
I think I'll just constantly forever be in this space of feeling like I don't think I know enough.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ready. But I'm just going to dive in. You got to stare it down.
Right, exactly. And I think if we keep a little modicum of nervousness in the things that we approach, then that means that we care about the thing that we're approaching.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we show up in the way that we're proud of.
Yeah.
And if we show up just dusting dirt off our shoulders and be like, get off, man, I'm about to doula the shit out you, girl. Yeah, you're not in an authentic space.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I do think that doulaing is very symbiotic. So it's not just me serving someone else. I think that it's actually probably more of the other way around.
Yeah.
I think that if you allow me to witness your dying and your death, you give me way more than what I'm giving you.
Wow.
I'm witnessing, and I'm honored to be your witness, but I feel like they give more to me.
Wow.
So.
Wow. That's a beautiful way to look at that. And I think if you're approaching it with that situation and that heart, they're lucky to have a person like you. They'll be lucky to have somebody like you holding space for them.
Thanks.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, if there's anybody out there that needs a witness, I'll be honored.
There you go.
It's scary to think about, but I think that's where the learning will come in.
Yeah.
Is actually witnessing and being in that space. So.
Yeah. So what have you done? So before you even started this training, when you were still trying to get understanding of the understanding of Death Doula, and you made the decision, what are some of the other things that you prepared yourself for? Because I know you did some Reiki training also.
Yep. Got my Reiki training from Hannah. Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
Miss Hannah Talbot.
Yep.
Big shout out.
Yeah, there's all these little pieces. I did all these things without knowing that later it was going to be to help people die.
It's like coalescing.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? The interesting thing is yes, all those things led to this Death Doula part, which is still moving towards something bigger else. That you haven't even realized yet. And I love that. Get the fuck out of the way. There's so many more things that you're not even ready for yet.
The bigger thing is I'm going to die.
Yes, you are.
That's the big event.
It's going to happen.
Here we go.
There you
I'm
go.
Getting ready for it.
Hell
Staring it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there were a lot of books too that I read that had me going down that path.
Okay.
I am not one to read fiction. Mm-hmm. I'm very much just take me right to the self-help aisle. I want to read everything self-help.
Yeah.
So I think that those books definitely helped me prepare for this too.
Right.
David Hawkins, that Power versus Force book.
Yep.
I had you read that.
Yep, totally.
Letting Go. Huge.
I read that one.
Huge. That's the other book by David Hawkins, but it talks about that scale of consciousness and in fear and transcending fear. So that probably jump-started my training.
Yeah.
There's movies out there that I absolutely adore that I think, I don't know, it's just things that I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Ultimately led me to choose Death Doula Ing as my path.
Yeah.
Like we talked about Captain Fantastic.
Oh, God,
that's my favorite
such
movie.
A good movie.
That's my favorite movie.
Yeah,
Isn't
if you haven't
weird?
seen Captain Fantastic yet, not the Elton John album, which is a great album. Listen to the album too, yes, but please. What is it, Viggo Mortensen or something like that?
I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, it's the guy that was he was in the Lord of the Rings as the father.
Yeah,
and he just raises his family. And right, wrong, or indifferent, like that's not saying that this is the right way, because it definitely shows the dichotomy of like having a more sheltered raising of your kids than Viggo Mortensen. He raises his kids with like just brutal honesty, like just blanket honesty. Hey, how do babies come here? Oh, well, your penis gets erect, you put it in the vagina, it ejaculates, and then the sperm goes into them.
He's just so honest.
And just like very pragmatic, just like, oh yeah, this thing, that's the thing, that's the thing, and the kids are like, all right, cool, all right, good.
I just love that movie so much.
Great fucking movie.
Isn't that weird, though? If someone were to be like, what's your favorite movie ever? I think it's Captain Fantastic.
Yeah.
I truly love that movie.
You know, I
really do.
It just, to give a big shout out to somebody that definitely deserves a shout out, but Colleen Riley,
yes,
right? Colleen is amazing human being. Love her to death. And when I watched Captain Fantastic, it reminded me a lot of the way that she raises her kids, Torrin and Cassie, who are fantastic, amazing, beautiful children that I've had a very, very big, graciously involved in their existence for the past maybe 5 or 6 years. Love watching them grow up as human beings. And I adore watching Colleen be super fucking honest with these kids. And in the beginning, it was honest to the point of made me cringe at times. It's like, oh shit, you just told your kid that. Wow.
You're talking about my mother now.
But at the same time, like as that started to get used to normal, I'm like, yeah, fucking tell your kid that. Talk to your kid about their periods. Talk to your kid about, sex. Talk to your kid about drugs.
That's awesome.
Be open. Be open. If we only make it weird because we make it weird. If we don't make it weird, it's not a weird thing, right? So like, talk to your kids about the things that make you cringe because they need somebody to talk to about that shit. Yeah. And if they can talk to the trusted adult that they have in their life and not go get that information from like what... Okay, so back in the day, we had Loveline. Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew on the radio, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't ask our parents about blowjobs and periods and sex and fucking shit like that. We had to listen to Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew on Loveline. Thankfully, there was something like that. Because I can only imagine what my parents had to do. Because they were raised in big Catholic families. You couldn't even think about cursing, let alone actually curse. If you thought about God in the wrong way, your mom would just innately slap you. So if you wanted to talk to your mom about like having prophylactics or like, what about like, God, fucking, birth control,
They're going to find out anyway.
Exactly.
They're going to Google it. Just tell them.
Yeah, have that conversation.
That's great. I know Colleen, and she's lovely, but I haven't seen her in that space with her kids, so that's great.
She's a fantastic mother. Love
that's
her to
how
death.
I would describe my mom. Yeah. That's probably where this journey should have started, is I should have told you about my mother, who very much is like that.
Yeah.
She doesn't hide anything.
All right.
She called me yesterday saying that she had a moment about my dad, just missing him. She's so honest. And grief hits her with a wave, and she calls me, and she is brutally honest.
Yeah.
And I cringed as a child, and lots of times really didn't like having my mom be my mom. My friends would come over, and she'd ask everybody about their periods, and and does anybody have questions about sex or I'm like, oh God. But yeah,
yep. I remember
very
Monica,
grateful for that now.
Monica recently got I shouldn't say in trouble, but got spoken to sideways from her sister for telling her nieces about yoni eggs. And yoni is a more politically correct, but also a beautiful term for the vagina, right?
Oh yes.
Yoni is, I think it's a Sanskrit word, and a yoni egg
for womb, right?
Womb, yes,
I should
exactly.
know this.
Yes, yeah, totally. And a yoni egg is basically an egg-shaped stone, usually like a rose quartz or something like that, that you put inside your vagina, and it's like a Kegel exercise, right? And you just hold it in there, and you strengthen your pelvic floor, right? So there's a lot of beautiful benefits to this thing. Yeah. And so Monica was sharing that with her nieces, and then like, I don't know, the next day got a call from her sister, be like, all right, look, appreciate your knowledge, but let's talk about this before you tell my kids about it, because I don't even fucking know what a yoni egg is. And my kids calling me, talking to me about vagina eggs.
Come on.
Oh man. So yeah, demystify the things, man. Make things approachable. That's where it's at.
Oh, that's tough right there.
Yeah.
Monica's situation.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I feel like I'm just going to teach my nieces and nephews whatever I want.
There you
and
go.
Suffer the consequences. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Yep.
Go, Monica.
Yeah, exactly. Antica. Antica's gonna drop some knowledge.
Yeah,
on you.
yeah.
Hell yeah. So I love. So I've not been researching Death Doula stuff. Well, I did for our podcast, but there was something I listened to a while back. I gotta say, it's probably been a couple years, and I was trying to remember where I heard it from, and I couldn't really remember. But it was a podcast that I listened to on the rights of the dead, and a lot of the misunderstanding of what those rights are, right? So, for example, like if you pass away, there's the understanding that you have to have your body embalmed right away, and you have to be in a funeral parlor. That's not actually true. You don't need to do that. So did you find out some interesting things about like the whole death process?
Gosh, yes.
Especially now because you're working for a funeral home now.
Oh yeah. So I have learned so much.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start?
Yeah. What are some of the weird things of like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh.
Like I learned a lot of the terminologies around like the way the rooms are labeled in our house, like living room, parlor, all that stuff. I'm like, oh Jesus, wow, that's cool.
Let's see. I think the biggest one is the when someone dies, our culture very much wants to take that person or animal that's dead and just whisk them away. They don't want to be present with the body.
Out of sight,
Maybe
out
that's
of
the
mind.
first thing.
Yeah.
Because we even get calls at our funeral home that just, someone's passed away and, they're like, well, when will you be here to pick them up? So there's like this urgency, like, ooh, they need to leave.
Right.
They're gone.
Yeah. Do you think it's a urgency as far as like, I don't want this person's passed and that's weird, so that we shouldn't have dead people here? Or do you think
I think it's all of it.
Some of it almost, it seems like there's almost a fear of, it's almost like a disease.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, this
By
person's
the way,
dead.
you can touch them.
Yeah, right.
You won't get sick,
Yeah.
or don't touch any open wounds or anything. Don't do anything like that.
But if it's your love, like you can hug that person, you can kiss their forehead, you can like embrace that human being, because it's like that you have a lot of love for that human, even though the spirit's not there anymore. So like hold the hand, cry on the shoulder, like again, like stay away from open wounds. Yeah, definitely, right?
So that's a big
blood
one.
gushing out of your midsection. Yeah, let's not do that. But like
that's a big one. People think they can't touch the dead. You can. It's totally safe. I've heard some really cool. I haven't had the opportunity to do this yet, but I've heard stories of people who bathed and cleaned their, gave them a bath.
The tenderness and just like that intimate moment. Wow.
So healing. I've heard, a couple of different stories of this. It was just so healing for them.
Wow.
To actually, take the cloth and wipe their face. And so you can be intimate and you can, have that tender, you can do that. And there's no hurry. I think you have up to like 24 hours in the state of Washington before they have to either be, cremated or
embalmed
refrigerated,
or
embalmed. Yeah. Decay is a real thing. So
yeah. You can't stop that. Yeah, that's going to happen.
24 hours is the rule.
Okay.
So you don't have to have someone come pick up your dead loved one immediately.
Right.
So that's a big misconception.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. You do not have to be embalmed.
Yes.
Some people think you have to be.
And that's a big expense too. That if you're looking for, because I mean, death hits us very suddenly sometimes, and not a lot of people are financially prepared for that. And embalming is an expensive process that isn't necessary. It doesn't need to happen. There are definitely benefits. It can keep the body around longer so that you can view it longer and things like that. But if you're on a budget, or if that's something that's not concerning to you, you can actually, if again, budget's a thing. If you need to save money, you do not need to embalm your loved one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being embalmed either.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like that's the wrong decision.
Thank you.
Every single one is okay.
Yeah.
But
there's no wrong decision.
You don't have to be embalmed.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can have a home funeral too. You don't have to have the funeral do it for you. You can do that, and a death doula can help you do that.
Nice.
Do that at home.
And that's where I found the names of the rooms, right? The living room, obviously, living room. That's where a lot of us, we still hold that name. And living room is where the living would gather, right? And So if you were well off enough to have a separate parlor room, a lot of people had a separate parlor room in their house also, and that was for the people that had passed. That was the viewing room for the people that had passed, which is now funeral parlor, right? So the parlor room, if you weren't well off enough to have a separate room, the front part of your living room was for the people that had passed, and that was the parlor, was the front part of your living room, and the remaining part was the traditional living room where people would gather in and have the festivities.
Wow.
But if anybody did pass, the front part of the room was separated, and that was made the parlor for the viewing of the person that passed.
Okay. Very cool. Look at you schooling me.
Yeah,
that's cool.
knowledge. Yeah,
I didn't make that connection.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good stuff.
There's so many things. What else do you want to know? I just don't even know where to start with this stuff. I've learned so much.
Right, yeah. Well, I think, Can
I ask you?
Yeah.
What you plan to... Do you have plans? Do you know how you want to be disposed of?
So at one point... I do. So at one point in time, I was... Okay, and I'll make this statement by saying that I've changed my mentality quite a bit. And I change
mine every day. It's hard.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I jokingly wanted to be mummified for a while. Like the whole pull your guts out of your nose, wrap me in paper and just put me in the ground and be mummy, right? And it wasn't to be remember me forever and I want a sarcophagus, and I was just thought that was just cool. It was unique. It was different, and that's still a possibility. There that reason was there for some reason, that idea was there for some reason, but as the I guess the process of passing has been researched a little bit more, and the avenues for what happens to us afterwards have vastly changed. I really like the ideas now of organic composting, like human composting, where you put yourself in a compostable body bag and you bury it at the bottom of a tree or something, and then you end up just
isn't that so cool?
Decaying back into the beautiful earth that we're a part of anyways. I mean, we're all part of stars and dust and this negative matter. I mean, if you think about it, as we break down every solid quote unquote part of our body, if you broke down all the solidity of our body, it would be about the size of a pinhead, right? Very small, right? So I think the world could do with a little bit more of that, just a little pin drop of me, and just to see where the rest of that goes back into the world, the mycelium and the trees and the air and all the oxygen and all the stuff that's happening in the world.
I am so excited about this new composting
Human
option.
Composting, yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yep.
Seattle was the first place to actually... We have a facility.
Really?
Recompose.
Oh, yeah. Recompose?
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
The funeral home I work at now is in the beginning process of adding that as an option, but Recompose in Seattle is functioning. I think they've taken care of maybe 50 people so far. This is new. Wow. Yeah, and I think that Colorado and Oregon maybe were the other states that just passed the legalization of this.
Sounds about right, yeah.
It's such a good option, because I actually would love to just do a green burial.
Oh, what's the difference?
So a green burial is, instead of being put into a casket and buried in the ground, you're put into maybe a simple shroud and just placed in the ground. Okay. And you naturally decompose.
Beautiful.
The worms and the bugs and the microbes and soil just,
take you back to where you started.
Nature knows what to do with your dead body. It's very good at it. So I love that idea, but finding the space to do that is tough. You have to, I don't know if I want to go into a specific cemetery. And that's why the composting idea is really cool, because you go into a facility, you're turned into a truck bed full of dirt, right? And then you can go take that anywhere.
Anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want.
That's cool.
And it's the same rules of scattering remains if you had someone cremated. The same rules apply to if you have dirt. Okay. So.
All right. Yeah. And that, that leads to one of the most beautiful concepts that I've read recently called Ubuntu. And it's an African proverb, and it's spelled Ubuntu, and it's the basic meaning is I am because we are, and it basically breaks down to nothing can exist without anything else, right? If we didn't have trees to give us oxygen, we wouldn't be here because we couldn't breathe, and if those trees weren't there, then it wouldn't provide ground cover for thousands and billions of other plants to grow. Billions of plants and other beings to live in. It provides ground stabilization, so the soil stays there. It connects with the mycelium underneath, which is a network of all these other things that connect with each other. So that's one thing. And if we didn't have fucking like electromagnetism, all of our particles in our body would just be floating around. And we didn't have gravity, those things wouldn't be here in this atmosphere, right? So like nothing can exist if the other thing doesn't exist.
True.
And so why are we different? We were birthed from all this crazy cosmicness, even though our consciousness has driven us to bastardize all this thing around us. We're still from this planet. We're still made of this earth. And the earth is going to be benefited by our remains putting back into it. You know, I can't remember the quantum physics theory, but there is a not even a theory. It's a law, quantum physics law, that all the matter in this universe is existing at this time. There cannot be any more and there cannot be any less, right?
Yeah.
So where is our body going to go, right? Is it going to just be in this box and decay and then just like be in this pillow-laden box for centuries? Or can we like go back and be part of this world a little bit quicker? And then maybe that consciousness of the understanding of the world that we passed in gets put back into this world in some kind of beautiful way. And then that consciousness is driven into the new beings that come back in. And then we just start off a little bit smarter than when we left.
I love this conversation so much.
This is the best.
I agree, though. I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
We're made of the same stuff that stars are made of.
Totally. Yep. We're all
That's
here.
so cool. Yeah. I think that is why the natural organic reduction seems like the best fit, right? Mm-hmm. You go back and you're one with everything again, and
totally.
Yeah.
Well, with the meditation that you did on death, because I wasn't able to be a part of that, but I've had my own experiences with meditations on death. It's a Tibetan meditation on death. But what was the process of that? Like, where did it lead you guys to? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can try to recall. Tang just has such this, I don't know, he's just incredible. Mm-hmm. Has this amazing ability to just like put you in the moment, and I'm able to kind of stay there.
Yes.
He just, I don't know, it's just amazing how he does that. But
yeah, gifted human being.
Usually with Tang, he has you sitting up and you're doing a classic Zen meditation, but with the death meditation, he asks you to lie down. Mm. And what I love about it is instead of being like, you know, if you need to move, go ahead and move. It wasn't like that at all. Tang is like, don't move. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. You're not able to move, so don't move. He didn't give you the option.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of panic that arises with that. Because you weren't given the option, you lose control, right?
Yeah.
So he made us lose control a little bit by telling you don't move.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was breathing, but just ever so slightly, and you get that panic feeling. So it was such a good preparation for probably what it'll really be like, because you just have no control over it. And he just, that's what I loved about it the most, is he was very strict about just don't move a single muscle in your body because you're dead.
Yeah.
And kind of brought you through mentally what would happen. Like at first, I don't know if I'm going to be able to even remember this, but in the moment it was just incredible.
Yeah.
Just at first taking to this space of nothingness, and he would ask questions like, just notice how your mind processes that, like having nothing. He asked you to notice where you're resistant, like what parts are you resistant of, losing your, saying goodbye to people that you love. Is it the actual body, losing your body that you're resistant to? Mm-hmm. He just had all these questions that he'd ask throughout the meditation. And he also was really good about putting lots of silence. You know that from
building the silence, yep.
Just really long moments of silence to watch where your mind takes you. And I feel like he's almost got this psychic ability to know when your mind has gone off track. He'll say something that brings you right back to where you need to be. Mm-hmm. I hope that answers that correctly. You just have to do it.
It definitely does.
Come to Tang's free meditation Tuesdays at 6.
Yes, thank you.
I think he'll end up doing some more death meditations, so just highly recommend.
And that again, so Tang Wen, we had him on the podcast. He was probably the second guest on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But that
was great.
Yeah, he does free meditations on Tuesdays at B1, 6:00, and I can't stress the free part enough, and also the fact that you don't have to be a member of the studio to practice the free meditation. you have a friend, family member, a child, somebody that can, anybody that can benefit from this. Tang is been my meditation mentor for 10 years now. And so I can definitely attest to his ability to hold space and to guide.
And he does it on Zoom as well. So if you're not in Kirkland, Washington,
or comfortable being in person,
there
you go.
He's got a Zoom link. I'll send it to you.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. We also did a meditation in our in the Death Doula training that I did. And that one was really cool. Elua kind of led us through all the, do you know about the 9 contemplations?
I don't think I do, no.
I wrote them down because, of course, I haven't memorized them.
Let's hear it.
Number 1, death is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And each one, she'd have you, it was like a good minute or so. She'd just
kind of marinate on that
marinate
thought.
on that.
Oh,
Number 2, my lifespan is ever decreasing. With each breath, you come closer to the end. Each one.
Each breath.
You're just, yes.
There's, so I did a quick tangent on that. I read a book a while back called, I think it's called Scale. It's called Scale. And the idea of the book was that you can scale anything from small to big, and there's a methodology behind it. And one of the things that it brought up was you take a field mouse, which is one of the smallest mammals that we have in this world, and you take a killer, or let's say a blue whale, which is one of the biggest mammals that we have in this world. Now, a field mouse, their heart rate, I'm just going to throw something out there just for contextual. It's not going to be accurate, but let's say it's like 1,000 beats per minute, right? Now, a whale, their heartbeat is, let's say, 500 beats per minute. It's massively bigger. It's going to take a lot more for that heart to pump, so it's going to pump slower and push things out faster, right? Whereas a field mouse's heart's going to pump a lot faster because it's got less surface area to push out, right? But if you look at the lifespan of the heart itself, the heart is going to beat the same beats per minute that it would for a whale as it would for a mouse, right?
Whoa.
So if you break down the lifespan and how many times that heart beats, it's going to be the same, right? Let's say a mammal's heart beats, let's say 1,000,000 times in its life. Now, whether that 1,000,000 times at 500 beats per minute or 1,000,000 times at 1,000 beats per minute, it's still going to beat 1,000,000 times.
Is that true for all of us?
It's true for all of us. And so this book's Scale is beautiful. So we actually do have a finite amount of heartbeats or breaths or something like that we actually do have. And I mean, if you think about it, we can we have an average lifespan. Average lifespan, I think right now is around like 68, 69, 72 maybe. And we have a healthy, quote unquote, healthy heart rate. So if you take the heart rate beats per minute, equate that out by how long the lifespan is, you can really roughly find out about how many times your heart's going to beat in a healthy manner before you pass away.
Wow.
And it scales up or down.
My mind is blown right now.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. So our lifespan is ever decreasing with every breath. Number 3, death comes whether or not I am prepared. Yeah, we like to think that we can control it, right?
Right.
Like I like to think, I think maybe at like 97 I'll say that's good. I've had enough. Yeah, we like to put a date on that, but we don't get to choose.
Not so easy.
The 4th one, my lifespan is not fixed.
Okay.
Death has many causes.
All right.
It could be any moment.
Yeah.
You and I, any moment could, I don't know, right?
Yep. It could have been 2 weeks ago, right?
Anything could happen.
Totally. Yep. Anything can happen any point in time.
I learned this early on because my dad died in a car accident.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that was my first lesson of just like, boom.
Very sudden.
Impermanence doesn't come when you expect it.
Yeah. It's almost just like this big claw arm just came up and just picked them up and just like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't get to say bye. You don't get to do anything. It's just, that person's gone now.
It is a smaller percentage. I think it's like 9% total of deaths that happen are sudden or accidents, and the rest are disease. So I feel like we're more likely to die from disease, but it could happen.
9%.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
It's a tiny,
that's a small
number.
figure. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know if I like that or not. Seems like sudden might be easier. I don't know. All these juicy questions, right? Would you rather go all of a sudden, or do you want time to process it?
So I've thought a lot about this for myself. And my 2 stipulations, if I could have any, would be I would like to pass suddenly, and I would like to pass in a manner that nobody has to clean up after myself. And that doesn't mean like I want to blow my face off or like commit suicide, but like I just don't want to have to like be a burden on somebody, right? And like I've had friends that have had to find loved ones that have committed suicide, or that have, mom had a heart attack or a stroke or something, and then, the child came home and found mom on the ground. And I just don't want that. I don't want that trauma to have to be involved with anybody else. But at the same time, like, I can't say that, because that could be a growth moment for that person. Like, we have every opportunity in life is opportunity for growth, right? And especially those dramatic moments of where something crazy dramatic happens that you're very not prepared for, like finding a death of a loved one that you were not prepared. Like, you were expecting to come home and see mom making breakfast, and then you find her dead on the ground. That's a big traumatic thing that I don't want anybody to have to go through, but that could be the catalyst for that person finding their meaning in life.
Yeah, if they're able to transcend that.
Exactly. You find the lesson in that. Yeah, totally.
So I hear that you have a fear of being a burden, your death being a burden.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Do you think that that's true as well for illness in general? Like, if you were to become terminally ill, is that something you might struggle with, is feeling like you'd be a burden?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And there's a book I read a while back called Crooked Cucumber, and I think I recommended this to you. I don't think I've given it to you yet, or maybe I did, but
you did. I have it with me today to bring back.
Awesome.
I bought it so that I can have it forever,
It's a
and
great
that
book.
I didn't have to keep holding on your books, because I know how that is.
It's a library. It's all good. But there's so part of Shunju Suzuki. So the Crooked Cucumber is an autobiography of Shunju Suzuki, and part of the back end of that is him passing away, talking about him passing away, and he contracted cancer. And one of the things that he decided, so Shunju Suzuki was one of the guys that brought Zen Buddhist meditation to America back in the 50s. So there was Dogen Zenji and Shunju Suzuki were the two of the main guys that brought it over. And Shunju set up in San Francisco, and Dogen set up in New York. And so Shunju was like right on Haight-Ashbury, like right in the heart of the hippie town, and it just had this beautiful monastery that he accepted anybody in, people that were dedicated to meditation, or people that just stumbled their way in high on LSD and just decided to sit down on a cushion and be like, oh, cool, well, here I am, right? Accepted them all. And so he developed this following of people, and they all helped out with the monastery work, and they had a Montessori, or not a Montessori, sorry, but a meditation school like somewhere else in the mountains in California. But as he contracted cancer, he decided to show his followers that you can die with dignity, and that you can embrace death as it comes. And so he decided not to take his cancer medicine, and to face this illness head on, and to embrace this illness. And that was his journey that he wanted to, what he wanted to teach his followers, that you can die with this dignity, and that even though you are dying, you can still look at this death and embrace it, and be a part of it, and be still present in the people that you're around, and still hold duties that you can still, right? And still be a part of this world. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful message, and it's a great, great book.
That's great.
And so, like, and things like that, like, I don't want to be a burden on anybody. And I think that is it's kind of a selfish thing, and not to say that I wouldn't want somebody to be a burden on me. Like, I would embrace a burden, and what would consider to be a burden, right? And so, again, like, taking away that person's opportunity for a growth moment.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like, the moment I have somebody wiping my ass, like, I can't say it's going to be the best day for me.
Right.
So I get it.
But, I think, so with that same moment, like, okay, so as much as I just said, I don't want to be a burden on somebody, that's my work.
Yeah.
That's my work to hopefully at this moment in time, I'm using this as a figurative analogy, but figuratively have somebody wipe my own butt that I'm not able to do anymore, and not feel embarrassed, and feel the appreciation and the love for that person that is caring for me tenderly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the work that I would have to do. And as much as I'd say, hopefully I'll never have to find that work, I hope I do. I hope I do.
And hopefully you'll have someone maybe like myself who actually not looks forward to, but feels honored to learn from that. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I hope you don't feel like a burden.
Thank you.
I will do it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
It's
gonna be tough.
It is. It is. I do have this feeling though that my exit from this world is going to be abrupt.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just have this feeling it's just going to be abrupt. Like it's, it's going to happen. It's not going to be a drawn out thing. If this is like, oh, where's Adam? It's just like, oh, Adam's gone. Shit. Okay. Fuck. Cool. He's watching over us.
Well, I'm sure there's a reason that your intuition tells you that.
Yeah.
I don't want to find out too soon.
Yeah, hopefully it's a while down the road. we still got some work to do, but yeah, whatever. I honestly, I think I'm ready for it when it happens.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Yeah. It's going to be sad.
It's everybody else that has the hard part,
exactly.
right? I know. Dying will be easy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Hopefully.
Everything I say, I feel like, well, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good.
I don't think it'll be easy.
That's good because it's an idea, not a belief, right?
Yeah.
We have these ideas of how it's going to happen and what it's going to feel like, but it's not this hard set belief of like, I know that I know when I'm going to die, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. One of my favorite lines is, expectations are resentments waiting to happen, right? If you expect all these things that are going to happen, you're going to be sorely let down because one, we don't know. Like there's been a small handful of people that may have gone to this other realm and come back that might have an understanding that enough of us haven't put enough credit into to believe, right? So, like we really don't know what that next step is, and the people that have quote unquote been there, we probably don't believe them anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because we have our own fucking ideas and beliefs of what it is, So, get ready for the unexpected.
We don't know.
Don't know what's going to happen. Hell yeah.
I do know that if and when I get terminally sick or ill, I want to make sure that I don't hide it. I want to make sure that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I think that maybe comes from my openness and maybe a little bit of my mom and me as well. But I read a book called Die Wise by Stephen Jenkinson.
Okay.
That was very much about this, about not hiding it and kind of changing the culture around death by not being so, people feel like they're burdens.
Right.
If they're in pain or if they're sad, they think they're burdens on other people.
Right.
But I actually think that people should learn from that. I hope people will learn from my death. That's my goal.
I like that. I appreciate that because I've actually thought a lot about that too. About if I knew, I would just keep it to myself, and it's cool, all good, no worries. Adam's just gonna be living his life, paying his bills, kissing babies, pinching cheeks, doing all the things Adam does, teaching yoga, and then just Adam knows he's gonna pass, but nobody else does.
I get it.
I
totally get it. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's hard to say. There's no right or wrong way,
Nope.
But I do feel that there's a bit of, if you hold on to that information, if you hold on to something like that, it's not going to do you any good because it's a very selfish reason that you're doing that.
yeah.
And maybe it's not. Maybe there's a situation out there where it's not selfish, but I think that if you do hold on to that information, you might be making it worse on yourself than if you could share that love and to feel the embracement, to soften that lessening of life that you're looking towards. But also you're giving, I go back to this again, you're taking away somebody's growth moment.
Exactly.
That person across from you that hasn't experienced death, or maybe has, maybe they've had death surrounding them their entire life, and then you're going to die. Maybe they've never experienced death, and then you're going to die. You're giving that person an opportunity to go through that emotion again, or for the first time, and to find their way of dealing with it, and to embrace it, and to maybe not embrace it, maybe to be scared of it. But down the road, it's that opportunity. It's always an opportunity.
Yep. Growth from pain and healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, our culture definitely doesn't feel natural to do that, right?
No.
To just make it open and make it this whole thing.
No.
That's just our culture.
Yeah.
You get sick, you don't talk about it, and then all of a sudden, there you go.
And so that's when you ask me some of these questions, I have to really look back and see if that's cultural Adam that's answering that question, or if that's this Adam that's actually thought about that question.
Right.
Because a lot of the questions, a lot of the feelings that I have, especially around death, I think are knee-jerk reactions to things I haven't really put a thought about, like conscious thought to. But now that I've, in the past 10 years, I've tried to really look at like, what are my morals in life? And what defines, what do I want to look at is what's right and wrong. Not to hold my hat on that stuff, but sometimes, a lot of times I never define that stuff.
Right.
Adult Adam, really, even, teenage Adam, right? And I never realized, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, what's morally sound for me, what in the business sense I can withstand, and what in the business sense I look at and be like, fuck off. No, we're not doing that. And these are the same things as these death questions. It's like, I don't know if I've really given myself the authentic time to answer these questions with this new set of mind skills, I guess, that I've been embracing.
That's why I love this so much. We were in every module that we would learn in the training.
Yeah.
There would be this set of questions at the end of each one. And I still, to this day, I flip back to those pages with those questions and I have a different answer. Every time it's different.
Yeah.
But that's what makes this so beautiful, is that it's ever changing. Your wisdom, as each moment you grow a little bit more and you change your mind about things.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought that I wanted to donate organs or donate my body to science for a while.
Okay.
And I think I've totally changed my mind on that.
Okay.
For example.
All right.
I think I've changed my mind.
Do you know why you've changed your mind? Would you rather be put back into this cosmos as the dust that you started, rather than have somebody experiment on, let's say, your organs to help find a cure for a disease?
I know. It's tough.
It is tough.
I go back and forth.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yeah, for the longest time, I was very set on, take my organs, do whatever you want, because I'll be dead and I won't care. But then I don't know. Now I think about actually having been like butchered after I pass away, and I think that might take away from what it could be.
Yeah.
I don't know if I plan to have like a home funeral or people sit around my body. I just don't think it's a good idea if I've got, my eyeballs missing or something, I want to keep my eyeballs.
When my dad passed, we were all scattered across country when he passed. And it took us a couple days to get back to Texas to do his funeral and the viewing and stuff like that. And so he was embalmed, but apparently the body deflates, like it loses its dexterity, I guess, after a couple days. It's not like this, that's why they put makeup on the body and do the hair, and because it starts to get pale and blah, blah. And so I remember them asking, they're like, well, we can put air into your father and it'll hold the form a little bit better, so that the body looks a little bit more like you left him. Because my dad was a big guy. He was like 350 pounds, so like, he'd been dead a few days. So I'm imagining it was just like this decomposing, soggy, kind of like sinking in. And so they pumped him up with air. Wow. And so and it wasn't an open casket funeral. It was, we just did a family viewing, and then we did the funeral, the services. And so I remember my mom and my two brothers and I, we were all in the viewing room, and they pulled the thing back, and it was my dad. It looked like an overblown balloon, and like not that the eyes were bulging out, but like it looked like a caricature of my dad.
Didn't look like him.
Not at all. No. Not, and I can look back now and smile and feel the comedy that was involved in that. Of like seeing this this caricature version of my big robust father. Almost like looking like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when like Christopher Lloyd's eyes are popping out of his head, kind of idea. God. It's just like I was expecting these weasels to pop out from behind him and shit. But like,
I actually didn't know about that air thing. I have a lot to learn. I haven't actually, I haven't done this yet.
Oh, that was the only time I'd heard about it, and I haven't heard it since. I mean,
did they ask you
if
they
that's
did. What you
yeah,
wanted?
They did.
Oh,
they did.
Okay.
They did. And it was my mom's decision. My mom was like, "Hey, this was the thing." I told them to blow up your dad so we could view him. And then when we saw him, I was like, oh, I immediately regret this. I don't like this at all. And it was kind of traumatizing to me.
You learned from that though.
I did,
right?
most definitely. It was,
you see what you might have done differently.
Oh, 100%. And that feeling stuck with me, because I'd mentioned earlier, my friend of ours passed away after a shift at iPick Theaters. And I remember he passed away a few months after my dad passed. And so it was pretty still fresh on the brain about my dad passing, and I went to this person's funeral, Chaz's funeral, and but I did not go look at the body. And I was still, that picture of my dad in my head with the
traumatized
cartoony eyes bulging. And I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to hold space and I'm going to talk to people in line and grab their hands and love you. And, but I'm not going to go see the body. I remember Chaz as the way he was and that loving, beautiful, energetic human being that just kicked ass on Valentine's Day and then unfortunately passed away that night.
Yeah.
So
can't blame you there.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would change today if you had someone who passed away and
I would still, I'd want to see him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I most definitely would. I've been thankful enough to, when I do have the clarity to have some thoughts about this subject. Again, I haven't really deeply thought all the intricacies of it, but the surface level things that I remember, from funerals and from, the processes of I think I'm very ready to take the steps that I need towards holding space for the people that need it held, and to put my emotions, not really put them aside, but to be able to understand my emotions enough to be a person of stability if that's what's needed in whatever capacity that's going to be.
Beautiful.
So,
yeah. Tough stuff.
Yeah.
I can't ever say, I don't think it's ever like, oh, I'm ready to go see somebody that's died.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to go just stare it down. I don't think you're ever ready.
No.
Never.
Not at all.
I had my own trauma with my dad's death in a totally different way. I never saw him. He was in such a bad accident that they couldn't do any repair.
No. Yeah.
So my mom will say, she still, looks for him. Because we never actually got to see him. So there's all these little ways, and we all have to process deaths in different ways. I never saw him. You saw your dad, but it didn't look like him. So there's all these little, but you learn from that. It makes you think, what would you have done differently?
Right. And how can I be here in this moment now?
Yeah.
That's what I think about a lot, with my kids, for example. Being a parent's tough, and it sucks. And I actually got this from Monica in a roundabout way, because she says, for example, we were camping last weekend, a couple weekends ago.
Good for you.
And it was great. And it was the last day we were there, and Mon was gonna jump in the lake, and then she was like, "I'm not gonna jump in the lake." She's like, "I'm gonna jump in the lake. I'm not gonna jump in the lake." And then she's like, "What would November Monica think?" And she's like, "I'm jumping in the fucking lake. Jump in the lake." And I think about that now with my kids. It's kids, they require a lot of energy, a lot of attention, and a lot of times as adults, we're tired, we're exhausted, we've had crazy days, whatever it is. And kids "Hey Dad, let's do this. Hey Dad, let's do that." And I'm like, "Fuck man, I'm tired." Go watch your tablet or something.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, now I'm looking at it well, if I passed away tomorrow, what would I, and I'm not doing that to be morbid or, to beat myself up. Cause sometimes, I do need to sit on the fucking couch and tell my kid to go do something else. I'm tired. I need to recharge. Right. Cause I need to put my oxygen mask on before I can put your oxygen mask on.
But that constant little check-in and
it is.
That constant reminder that nothing's permanent, right?
Yep.
Someday this will all be over. So it makes you rethink everything. Every moment, it can totally change every moment. Yep. So I don't think that's morbid. I think it's healthy. Yeah. I think we need more moments of just remembering, I'm not going to be here forever. Right. This is all just temporary.
Yep. I had my youngest was here a couple weeks ago, and I just finished a podcast interview a couple days before, so all the equipment was still out. And she came downstairs after, I don't know what the hell she was doing, but she was like, "Dad, let's go record." I'm like, "I'm fucking tired. I'm tired. I just got done teaching. And then I took a class afterwards. I'm like, I am just scraping my face against the ground tired." She's like, "Dad, let's go record. Dad, let's go record." I'm like, fine. I'm like, and I think about it. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm too tired to go upstairs, sit down and talk to my daughter. That's basically what I'm going to do. Granted, I have headphones on and a recording device in front of me, but outside of that, I'm just having a conversation with my kid.
So you did it?
Fuck yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we recorded 2 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was great.
Are you going to post them?
I'm thinking about it. So I'm trying to figure out the way to do it. One is kids returning to class for COVID, right? Okay. And so she's 12 and she's very...
Ooh, I want to listen to that.
She's got a great perspective on that. And then I can't remember the other one. The other one might have been just us just sitting down and just being like, hey, I'm your dad and you're my daughter and we have microphones. Let's talk about things,
That's so
which is
fun.
Cute and amazing. It's own right, So yeah, seize those moments. You know, we don't know how long we're going to be here, but I think, you know, and I'll devil's advocate myself. Seize your moments, but your moment might be to chill the F out and relax. That might be the moment that you're seizing. Yeah. Right? Seize the moment. Do what you do.
Seize the moment. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I can't wait to hear those. I hope you post them.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Very
good
fun.
times. Yeah.
Very
I actually thought about doing like a kids podcast, but I don't know if I could have 3 podcasts because I'm already actually in the process of having a 3rd one.
Just do it.
So that would be my 4th one. If I could make money off these, then I would have all the podcasts. But still, it's just me and my time and beautiful, informational human beings.
This is legacy work.
Yes, exactly.
Totally legacy work. I'm so excited.
I appreciate that.
We might die tomorrow, but this podcast might live on. Yeah. I don't know.
It's media.
I think you got to do some stuff to it first, right?
Yeah, it's media. Yeah, we put it out
there.
So
fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So fun. So, recap. Number 1, death is inevitable. 2, my lifespan is ever decreasing. 3, death comes whether or not I am prepared. 4, my lifespan is not fixed. 5, death has many causes. The 6th one, my body is fragile and vulnerable.
Oh.
7.
That's
I know, they're all so juicy. Each one is a little conversation, right?
Yeah.
Do you need to add anything there?
I do, man, because a lot of us we think a lot of us think we're vulnerable. We're invulnerable.
Yeah.
Like we're just we got everything, nothing can hurt us, you know, and it's that, you know, a lot of times that first big bout of sickness or that broken bone or that moment of vulnerability, physical vulnerability can scare the shit out of a lot of people, especially as we get older. Like that, you know, twisted ankle or a slip and fall on a broken bone, that can terrify people.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good one.
I've broken some bones for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and my whole arm is numb because I've like slept on it. That's a little reminder right there. I am fragile. I can't feel my arm right now. I just pray that the feeling comes back. It's horrible.
Oh my gosh.
7, my material resources will be of no use to me. I love that
like
one.
Caps, all the way caps underlined.
I know.
God damn.
Your shit is not going to help you.
No, it's not.
Let it go.
Yes, let it all go. You can't take your money with you. You're not going to get buried with it. All the material objects, all they're going to do is weigh you down.
There's a lot, by the way. This gets into like pre-planning stuff. Possessions.
Yeah. There's a
so much stuff.
Yeah. I can't remember the guy's name that I read this from, but it was the idea is paraphrasing that we're born with the perfect amount of happiness and joy in our world, right? We're born with that perfect amount of, but as we start to get older, we feel that material objects are the happiness. And so we start to pack on material objects. And so think about this big, bright, shining ball of light inside your heart cavity. And it's brilliant and beautiful and glowing. It's encompassing the world. It's so big and bright at that beautiful, young, vulnerable, innocent age. And then we start to find what we think is happiness through material objects. And so let's say it's that first doll that we get, right? And then we have that doll that we attach to, and then we put that on top of our heart, and it makes the light a little bit dimmer. And then we get that next thing, right? It's that action figure, and then we put that on our heart, and it makes it a little bit dimmer. And then we get the car, we get the house, and we get all the things, and we're like, this is our happiness, right? And it's like, why is my light so dark now? Pull all that shit away. Throw all the material stuff away and watch your light get brighter. That light's going to get so bright. Exactly. As soon as you strip all that shit away, you're shining the brightest you've ever shown in the world.
Easier said than done.
It is, most definitely.
I'm attached to some of my things, but yeah, this is a really big one.
Yeah.
Did you watch that show, the Marie Kondo, whatever her name is?
Yes, Marie Kondo. Yeah.
I recommend everybody watch that show. Go through your stuff.
I fold my clothes based off that woman's recommendations.
Monica told me that last time.
Yeah. Mom gets upset with me.
Well, I did for a while. I have to admit, I don't anymore.
I still do.
Really, it just ends up in a pile on my floor, and then I use it from the floor, and then But for a little bit after I watched that show, I was folding it, and it was beautiful, and I tossed a lot of stuff. One of our assignments in the training that I did was to go through an area of your home that's cluttered, and to go through the process of getting rid of things that either A, were not currently in use, or B, you didn't plan on passing down after you died. Yeah. I got rid of a lot of stuff.
Right on. Yeah. A lot of things we're just holding on to just to hold on to.
That training was just so awesome. I can't recommend it enough to everybody. Yeah. Even if you're, you don't have to be dying to to live like you're dying.
Yeah.
To do these things, to get ready for it. So
well, we'll leave
just stuff.
links in the show notes for the training. Okay. Definitely, most
Sounds
definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. So material resources will be of no use to you. 8, my loved ones cannot save me. Ouch.
Ooh.
We were asked at the end of this.
You need to have that one in there, but that's a hard one.
I know.
God damn.
I'll say the last one. My own body cannot save me or cannot help me when death comes.
And that's where we feel betrayed sometimes.
Yeah.
Because this thing that's
all we know.
This vessel that's kept us safe and kept us moving and kept us alive is now failing us. What we think is failing us.
Yeah.
But again, like, we don't know the bigger picture. Maybe that what we consider as a failure is just that setup for the next part. You know, this decay of this physical body that we have, whether it's a slow death that we see coming and we can embrace, or this quick death that just all of a sudden happens, an accident or something like that. Like, who's to say that process, as painful as it might be, the counter of that as the passing happens and after the aftermath isn't this ecstatic bliss that, you know, doesn't have to be like a drug type high, but it's this state of mind that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
You know, there's no fears, there's no doubts, there's no anxiety, there's no depression, there's just a sense of being.
Yeah. We were asked at the end of this, she went over all these 9 contemplations, and for each one, you know, we marinated on that for a minute or so and just breathed. And she asked at the end, one of the questions is, of all of those 9 contemplations, which one made you resist the most?
Ooh,
that
that's
was
a good question.
I know. I love that question. Do you have an answer?
I think it would have to be the one where I don't want to be a burden to others. Which number was that one?
Let's see.
Where I don't want somebody else to find me.
Well, that's not a contemplation, but...
What would be considered, like, closest to that one?
Let's think.
Because I think, you know... I
don't know which one that would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do sense that that's one of your resistant... That's your thing, right, to work on. Is feeling like a burden.
It really would be.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like how an animal will go and dig its own hole before it's ready to pass. Like, I almost kind of like want to do that for myself. Like, I'll just be out there like coughing up blood, digging a hole, be like, I'm okay, it's fine, I'll be in a minute.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. No, I totally get it. You're not alone in that thinking. Yeah. I'm sure that I have a lot of that too.
Yeah. Do you have one that resonates with you as far as like a big fear that you're working through?
Yeah. It's my loved ones.
Yeah.
It's leaving behind my loved ones.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm resistant to. I don't like to think that that's it. That I have to let go of Adam Real.
Right.
And even though I believe that in reincarnation, and I think that we end up crossing paths with souls over and over again.
Right.
I still have such a, I don't want to let go of this.
Right.
So that's the one I resist the most.
And I appreciate that thought. And the thought that I have that counter that thought is in our previous life. Because again, like, I do believe in previous lives and reincarnation and things like that. And I do believe that we find the people that are meaningful in our lives from our previous lives. And, you know, I have a connection with you, and that I feel is not just, we just met, you know, a couple of years ago and we're friends. It's like, no, we have a deep friendship that totally. We have we've done this before. We've danced this dance in some kind of way, shape or form. I could have been a girl. You could have been a man, whatever it is, right? We're whatever relationship, right? And so, with that thought, how do we know that like previous incarnations of us didn't have the same conversation of like, man, I really hope that, you know, I really hope I don't want to let Frankie go. Or maybe that's why I call you Frankie, because you used to be Frank back in the day, you know? Right?
Man, I wish we could find this out.
You know,
I wish I could know.
But, you know, that's so as much as like, yes, I want to hold on to this friendship and this human being and this moment and this atmosphere. How beautiful is our next encounter going to be? Right? How much deeper of a friend are we going to be? How much deeper of like a potential lover or like brother, sister, you know, like mother, father, you know, kind of stuff. Like there's like all these possibilities, these beautiful relationships that are just waiting for you to wake up to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I don't know that, but I feel it.
I'm sure we've had past lives together.
Yeah.
I listen to your playlist and I'm like, is this my playlist I'm playing right now? Is this mine?
I mean,
we're the same.
Shout out Colleen one more time here, but I remember when the very first time I met Colleen in this life, I was walking out of B1. Maybe I was walking in and she was walking out, but she had just finished an interview to as a massage therapist there, and I'd never met Colleen. She'd just moved here from Connecticut, and I was walking in. We passed by each other and literally looked at each other and was like, "Oh, there you are," and both of us were just like, "Oh, hey." Where have you been? My name's Adam. My name's Colleen. We know each other, right? Nope. All right. Well, I guess we do now. And then like a year later, we're living together. We're raising each other's families together in a platonic way. Like just Colleen is such an amazing, amazing human being. And I have this deep, deep love and appreciation and draw to her and her family for whatever reason. And I'm not going to question it. I just embrace it and follow it because it feels right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I know
incredible.
I know Colleen.
That's so cool.
You know, she's just a human being that I just adore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally think about you and Monica that way too. And it's even more amazing to me because I was born and raised all the way over in Michigan. So I think it's incredible how I've crossed these paths with all these people in different places, but I still think that we've, had other lives together.
Most definitely.
It's so cool.
And we all get drawn into these areas for reasons, you know, whether it's the energetic draw of the group or the draw of the energy of the place, right? We get drawn to these areas for reasons, and then we find the connections that we have there, you know. And I one thing that I've been working on is my intuition and listening to it and not dismissing my intuition. And so in moments like that where you feel drawn to a person, maybe you're not hearing the initial intuition at first because the muscle is atrophied in a lot of us. We haven't worked out that muscle in a long time, that intuition. But there's something whispering, poking, screaming, gently tugging somewhere to say like, hey, that's the person. That person's pretty cool. Like, you should get to know that person. Like, you're there for a reason. You should hang out with that person. You know, it's like, all right, I got it. You know, and then you start talking to that person like, well, shit, everything that, you know, we just link up so perfect. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It doesn't have to be like a physical relationship. It's just human beings finding human beings, right? That makes sense to that human being. And when you can find those people that make sense to you, it doesn't make us feel so weird anymore, right? Yeah. There's no reason to feel weird about the shit that you feel. Find other people that feel that weirdness too, and then you're not going to feel weird about it anymore. Right. Yeah. That's one of my biggest advices to clients right now that are all of a sudden stumbling upon these gifts, which I think a lot of people are right now. We've had time to slow down. We've had time not to work our asses off. We've had time, and it's been traumatic time, but sometimes those traumatic times help us jar shit loose and those understandings. And so sometimes, like I said, I've had a lot of people come to me now that all of a sudden are empaths, or I'm starting to hear voices or starting to see things, these gifts that are given to them because they finally slowed down enough to hear, to see, to believe that they are these amazing beings and they have these gifts.
That's what this work is all
Exercise
about, right?
that shit, man. Do those reps. Get down there. Listen to that spirit. It's like doing bench press. Listen to that spirit.
Don't question
breathe
it.
Breathe through it.
Just breathe.
Yeah.
Intuition could go into a whole nother podcast. I have to thank Hannah for all that.
Yes.
She did a lot of intuition training in her soul care mentorship,
which is starting back up. Yes, very excited for that.
Can't wait.
Yes, and again, like we shouted out Hannah a couple times. She's been on the podcast before. She's an amazing Reiki master. Actually has a Reiki training that I'll be helping with coming up at the end of September.
Cool.
Reiki 1 and 2. It's a weekend. 25th and 26th, I believe it is. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Oh, man.
A million? I know, me too. I have like 5 pages of notes that I wrote just in case. I could go on forever.
No, I do, but I think, just for timeliness, so you're working at a funeral home now, right? Funeral home. And is your main, are you a death doula at this family home or the funeral home?
No.
Okay.
I am just an assistant at this funeral home.
Okay.
But very much so, I think that I dove right into it because I knew it was going to help me with, we keep saying my death doula training is going to lead me to something. And I don't have any plans. I don't plan anything. I do not know where it all will lead me. But when we learned about the funeral industry in my training, it's something that I definitely spent a lot of time on and gravitated towards. So I just kind of felt this. See, I listened to my intuition.
There you go.
And I saw a job opening for this funeral home, and I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
That's my in. And so I just dove in, and I'm just learning so much in it, and I don't know where it'll lead. I see the funeral directors there, and I watch them do what they do, and I think it's incredible. And I've had thoughts like, maybe I want to be a director. So
there you go.
I have all these little ideas, but yeah, I think that we're all doulas, though. I think we really are.
Well, think about like all the skills you're amassing, right? So your death doula, your Reiki training, the yogic knowledge that you have. The women's circles that you've been a part of, right? Even though those aren't trainings, like yoga and women's circles aren't trainings, that's still a lot of information that you're gathering in a very learning type atmosphere. And so all these things you're bringing into an industry that, and I don't know a lot about the funeral industry, but you're bringing a lot of like energy work and yoga and these very front of mind, body conscious, understanding, energy work kind of things into an area that people are very, very vulnerable in. And that could be very beneficial with people that may not be used to that realm of comfort.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have a business card that says doula or anything on it. But like so many moments, though, in my day where I guess you could consider it, I'm death doula-ing in action.
Yeah.
I think any time that you even just bring up the conversation with someone, you're at that point being a doula, helping them through that.
Yeah.
That's really all I want to do.
Yeah.
Is, let's see, Elua Arthur says, all she wants out of the training that she provided is for you to be a walking invitation to the conversation around death and dying. And I love that. And I think I'm going to steal that from her. Because that's really all I want, too.
Invitation.
I just want people to know that I'm willing to go there in that conversation. In fact, I really hate small talk. And if we can just get right to the juicy, that'd be great. Like, let's just skip right to it. Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated?
Hi, my name's Frankie. How do you want to die? Oh, what? Frankie Danis? Last name first, maybe? I don't know. Before we dive into all this shit?
Yep.
It's funny. I feel you. I don't want to have small talk. I'm so sick and tired. Hey, how's it going? How you been? What's the weather like? What's blah, blah, blah. Hey, you know what? How do you feel about death? What's your spirituality?
Exactly.
Do you feel connected to whatever higher power you think you're in? How's your body consciousness been? No?
All the questions.
All right. Okay, cool. I guess how's the weather then? You know? You're sweating for a reason. Is it because of my questions or because it's hot? I don't fucking know.
What are you grieving about right now? I want to know all of it. It's just what matters.
It does.
Stuff matters.
It does. And if we could, we get to that point to where we're that openly vulnerable, I think, we're making a lot of progress as humanity.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that's what I love most about this. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's your, so I know that you're newly into this position and you're newly into your accreditation and your gaining of knowledge of all this stuff. Where, if you could snapshot, like maybe the next 5 years, where do you think that this might take you?
I would love to doula eventually. I would love to just have that be my main gig. Mm-hmm. I would hope that I just need enough people that would be interested in it to reach out. Yeah. But that is, in 5 years, I would love to just be able to have my whole day filled with people that need help in either they're planning or they're actively dying or, it's really where I want to be. But really happy to be working at a funeral home now and just learning the ins and outs. And I don't know, I might end up, maybe I will just become a funeral director and insert doula-ing into that. I don't know. The options are endless. Right. I don't think I'm answering the question very well, but I don't plan things. No. I don't see things in 5 years. I can't tell you what's going to happen in an hour. It's going to help you flush it out one way or the other. Yeah, exactly. It's, well, I think, there's so many ways you can take this. Do you think you could actually do, so your assistant job right now, your 9-to-5 job, let's call it that. Yeah. And do you think you could do that? And if the opportunity presented itself, do some doulaing on the side? Oh, yeah. That's, you think that there's the time in that? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Right on. Totally. Yeah. Totally. All right. Still, I applied to volunteer at Overlake Hospital recently to help with advanced care planning. So that would be really cool. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I've opened up this big treasure chest and I'm just like, I've just discovered so much and now it's a matter of what am I going to do with all of it. Yeah. I just opened up this big toy box and
Do you know, so for let's take Overlake, for example, is there a program for hospitals that accepts volunteers that don't have people to sit with people that are passing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, anybody can volunteer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
yeah,
good to
and
know.
Hospices and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can volunteer.
That's
you should.
hard.
We all should.
But beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people that are passing that don't have family, that don't have friends, that, you know, for whatever reason, you know, maybe they're not able to make it there for financial reasons. Maybe the person passing has been kind of an asshole most of their lives and don't have anybody that's close, but still would like a loving person to sit with them as they pass.
Exactly.
Wow. That's a big space for somebody to step up and hold, but that's obviously, I mean, I would love for somebody to be that person for me if I didn't have somebody.
Same. I was just about to say that. That's so funny. That's why I want to. It's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
To just go and volunteer your time to go witness someone dying.
Yeah.
Like, that's really heavy shit right there. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
But I would hope someone would do that for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Come in and play some music and give me some Reiki.
Yeah.
Those are my requests.
Oh, all right. All right. I'm going to start working on the Frankie's Death playlist.
Oh, I've already got it done.
Oh.
I've already have my funeral playlist. I've got it all figured out. Somebody was like, yeah, the funeral is really for the, loved ones who are left behind. And I was like, no, not me.
Not this
I've
one.
got mine all planned out. I am planning my own.
What if you could have your funeral before you die?
I've heard of that before.
Let's like, if I know that, like, not know, but if I have a feeling I'm going to die, like say I'm terminal or something like that, I got like 2 weeks. I got 5 days left. I'm going to plan that funeral. I want to be a part of it. Get up there and speak myself. Maybe even like pretend like, oh yeah, Adam passed away, and then be in the casket and be like, what I'd really like to say is, be like, fucking shit. Just scare the shit out of everybody.
I am kind of a weirdo, but I think that would be really cool. I'm all of a sudden having these thoughts like, maybe I could have Monica do a women's circle where we have each other's funerals.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
What if you could write a eulogy for somebody while they're still living and tell them all the reasons that you love the shit out of them?
That's actually
wouldn't that be great?
Beautiful idea.
Right?
Wow. Oh, living funerals. I think you might be onto something. All right. Let's flesh that idea out.
My birthday.
Yes.
Is in June.
June. Yeah, yours is before mine, right?
Let's just make birthday celebrations now into living funerals. Let's just do that.
That's a great idea.
Every year.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's try it out. Because your birthday is June
5th.
5th.
Yours
That's right.
is...
Mine's the 10th.
We can maybe have it on the same day.
Yep. All right. I think we're on to something.
I think so too.
How
fun.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So you heard it here. We're going to start this out this next year. So in about 6 months, we're going to try this and and do living funerals on a birthday. And just gush about how much we love and appreciate that person and make sure that they feel it and they understand it. So that when they do pass, they do know and they do feel the love. And it's not this like all of a sudden like, oh, I didn't realize I had that big of an impact. Like you should always realize
exactly
how much of an impact you're making on people's lives.
Yeah.
And be open enough to, so for me, I hate hearing it. I used to very, very much struggle with like hearing praise and like shy away from it a lot. But give it abundantly. I love giving people praise. So I think it's a good practice in both, where both giving people praise inadvertently and both in accepting it, because that can be weird and awkward to like feel how much people love you.
It is hard.
It is hard sometimes.
Like when everybody sings happy birthday to you.
Right.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I ran into a friend not too long ago, a couple days ago actually, in Spokane. And we worked together for a number of years. She's a self-proclaimed mentee of mine, and I'm not a mentor to anybody, but if somebody wants to, I'll teach
mentor.
people.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Right, but again, I'm not going to like call myself your mentor, right? But I ran into her at a restaurant she's now working at in Spokane, and she had some very beautiful things to say to me about like our journeys together and the amount of growth that we've had together and stuff, and it was. It's hard to hear. It really is, because it's like, man, we don't realize how much of an impact, how significant we are in people's lives sometimes.
That sounds like a person who is very aware of their mortality and aware that everything's temporary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone who will walk right up to you and get right to it and say what they appreciate about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the sense that person is like that.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mads.
Yeah.
Mads is having a baby today, so there you go. Oh. Well, today is as in today when we're recording this, not today when this is released.
Okay.
Because if I know that, then goddamn, I'm going to put some money on that shit.
Yeah, right.
2 weeks and
That's
1 day
exciting.
from now, Mads is going to have a baby.
Wow.
Yeah, big,
Cool.
good stuff.
Congrats.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.
Do you have any parting thoughts about your beautiful profession that is extremely difficult and just very, very vulnerable to be a part of?
Thank you. I hope that we do this again because I feel like there's so much left to talk about.
Yeah.
How about this? I'll share a quote that I wrote down.
Okay.
Okay. Even though we don't like to think about it, death is going to come no matter what, so we should learn how to stare it down. Remember that a death well handled is one of the surest signs of a life well lived.
Ooh, a death well handled is the surest sign of a life well lived.
Dang.
Love that.
I know.
All
Ooh,
right.
And I'll real quick tell you where I got that quote.
Yeah, please.
It's that app that I downloaded on my phone. It's called We Croak.
Oh, that's right. You started sending me the...
Oh my gosh. Every single one is just so, it's all these little nuggets of gold.
Yeah.
Every few hours I get a little notification. Don't forget you're going to die. And then I open it up. And this is one of those quotes. It was so good I had to write it down and share it with y'all.
Love
y'all.
that.
So
awesome.
highly recommend that app. It's really fun.
What's it called again?
We Croak.
We croak. We do. It's
We
going to
do.
happen. Unless you're a transhuman,
Hey,
and then
remember.
you believe that we're going to just continue to find ways to live on forever, which is going to be a burden to society, which is a whole other podcast.
Don't
You ready
forget,
for hour
you're gonna
3?
die.
We get into hour 3 and talk about transhumanisms and the burdens of
God.
society that they'll create. Just kidding. Well, thank you so much, Allison,
Thanks,
Danis,
Adam.
a.k.a. Frankie.
Thanks,
I love you so much, and I appreciate you being a part of this podcast.
Right back at you.
And look forward to hearing and seeing what you're going to do and continue to see where this grows to. And as you do, we'll get you back on.
All right.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much for sharing time with Frankie and I. We will definitely leave some notes and links in the show notes for the trainings that Frankie's been a part of and some of the books and things that we've talked about. So please reference there if you have any questions or reach out to us individually. And we have our contact info in the show notes as well. So share the podcast if it means something to you with a friend, with a family member, and let's get the community keep building. Obeisance and love to you all. We'll see you next time.